I think we've got ourselves another fun one today. What we're working on is an estate sale. We have no idea what's there, and neither do the people who now own the property because, you know, estate sale. So that's unfortunate for them, but we need to figure out what they have and what's going on with this system, so that way they can either liquidate or take ownership of it and live there. So let's go ahead and do a little walk real quick, see if we can figure out where the tank is and what are we working with. Got pretty lucky right off the top. We can see a tank, which is pretty easy and convenient, but we can see excavation. Somebody has done some work on this property. Now, as far as they were aware, nobody's been to the property and worked on it for a while. So that excavation may not be too recent, but definitely doesn't look like it's been old either. So we're not sure what was done on the property. Maybe there was an issue. Maybe they had a problem with the clog. Now we have to open everything up and see if we can figure out what happened. So let's get the hook, let's get the shovel, get this thing open and start doing some investigating. To get this lid up, we got to take our handy dandy hook. And, you know, while we're doing this, if you can leave a comment below, when's the last time you had your septic system pumped? And better yet, do you have a riser like this on your system? And let's take a peek here. We have ourselves a square lid, meaning we got a square lid back there as well. When it comes to these systems, a lot of times the lids are going to mirror each other. So if we see that there is a square lid in the front, we can almost always assume that there's going to be a square lid in the back. That's just how they used to make the tanks. They still make the tanks very similar today. Unfortunately, this one is not terribly shallow, so it's gonna be a lot of dirt we gotta move. Let's get this big lid up first, see what we're working with inside the tank, and then we'll get the tarp and shovel and get the back of the tank open. As you can see, I had to take the hoodie off. It's getting kind of hot. I've got the back of the tank open, and we ran into a bit of a problem. When we look down on in there, we can see the handle's broken. So somebody had this up, and I guess maybe the handle broke or something happened, but they had this up, and now we get to see if we can even bother to get this thing up again, because unfortunately these big square lids I don't carry in the van, and this is not an emergency to figure out what's going on. We'll circle back to that one in a little bit. The next step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our metal detector and our probe. We've got some water running into the system because it looks like somebody replaced the outlet side baffle. So we're gonna grab the metal detector and probe to see if we can find the drain field or the dry well. They might have drain fields, but for the age of this house, early 1950s, it's more than likely gonna be this tank to a pit. This tank looks like a Generation 1 system, and that's because of the wall baffle inside of it. The older style systems would have a baffle, just like this one, that would stretch from one edge to the other edge. We refer to these as wall baffles. We don't really use that style anymore because it's very prone to falling apart. All concrete baffles will deteriorate and eventually break. With this style of wall baffle, the problem is now you've got more surface area for that corrosion to occur, which means you could have more points for that wall to fail, allowing scum into the outlet line, causing problems in your absorption system. Not fun. Most modern tanks nowadays are going to just outright put PVC in place, or you will still see a concrete baffle, but it's going to be much smaller. It'll be like a 12 by 12 square instead of a large wall from edge to edge. Now, the purpose of the tank is so that we can clarify the liquid. So every time you flush that toilet, run a sink, bathtub, all that stuff plus the solids goes to the tank. The solids will fall out of suspension and then the water will go somewhere. So that's why we have to find the dry well so we can figure out where is that water going. So we'll grab the metal detector probe and hopefully we get lucky. All right, using our metal detector, we were able to find what I believe to be the dry well. Now, some of these older systems wouldn't have a clean out at the surface, which kind of sucks. Makes it a little bit harder to figure everything out. But essentially what we're looking for is a large, round, solid object at roughly the same depth throughout the entirety of the yard. By the entirety of the yard, I mean like a known area like this, right? So the metal detector picked up a solid object. We probed it, hit the solid object multiple different points, found a few rocks, but definitely there is a large object of some variety right here. The dry well typically is going to be 8 foot to 10 foot diameter, so it's a large pit. And essentially what it is a big hole in the ground with dry stack cinder block and a real thick lid sitting on top. So the water from the toilet goes to the tank, heavy stuff falls down, and the liquids will then work its way into the pit. The pit's job is to basically send that water into the soil, clear everything up. The soil's doing all the heavy lifting, but the pit is giving space and surface area for that soil to do its job. Typically, we recommend access on dry wells so that way you can monitor them into the future. As these things fail, they're going to start to fill up with water. So the best I can do right now without access at the surface is probe the stone. The stone is dry, so they're in pretty good shape. However, if you don't have a good access point, you as a homeowner are not going to be able to really keep track of what's going on. If you have a dry well, very, very important to make sure you get a clean out put on it so that we can watch what's going on. And if you measure it every year, you'll actually be able to track how much life you have left in your system. The next step that we have to do is we have to take a look at the sewer line. So we can already see some roots on the inside of that pipe, so that's not going to be super great. Unfortunately, there's a driveway near it, so we got to run the camera back, see how much more of that pipe is nasty, and then we got to start having some complicated conversations. So we just got done running the camera. Not so great. Unfortunately, they have terracotta piping running from the house to the tank, and every single joint has soil, roots, all sorts of toilet paper getting caught up on it. The terracotta pipe is an old school style. Basically, it's orange, and it's kind of like a clay pot. The walls are really smooth, so when the clay pipe looks good, usually the sewer also looks good. 9.9 out of 10 times, though, no, it doesn't look very good. So what do you do about this? Well, you can't reline a terracotta pipe because all of those disjoints are now going to be translated to the new pipe that you build inside of the old pipe. And unfortunately, the only way to replace this particular pipe is to cut the asphalt and run it to the house. Also kind of sucks. This is why it's very important not to put driveways over top of your system. About how often should you be checking your sewer line? I would argue that you should be looking every 5 to 10 years just to make sure that things aren't bad. If you have PVC pipe, it is what it is. When it's terracotta or cast iron, even Orangeburg pipe, you do run the risk of that pipe deteriorating rather quickly. Typically with terracotta pipe, it's almost always root and soil intrusion, so you get clogs. Cast iron, it kind of shrinks in on itself. And Orangeburg pipe, it just kind of collapses. That pipe sucks. So if you have Orangeburg pipe, get rid of it. It's terrible. If you have terracotta, can you live with it? Yes. Is it the greatest thing? No. If you're selling a house, no, you shouldn't do that. If you're renting a house, no, you shouldn't do that. And the reason why is it's going to happen again. So if you have terracotta lines, all you do is you snake it out or jet it out, and it should remove the debris. However, that doesn't address the pipes themselves not being sealed. So you run into the issue of whatever roots were there previously getting back into the system, causing the same level of problems. This one was pretty easy. We found the tank. We believe we found the dry well. And we found a problem with the sewer line. If you found this useful, or if you found this interesting in any way, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have videos posted every day on the world of well and septic, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.